Greetings from Small Bears Preschool. I thought I would give you a little walking tour of what to expect when we return to school post-COVID. So anyway, we're going to start with, as you enter school, the new situation is going to be that you will be greeted by me at the door, having a temperature check and signing a little, looking at a COVID checklist. I'll be asking you some questions, or you'll just be checking off the items on a clipboard and assuring that you don't have any of the symptoms. And then your child will come in and wash their hands. And if they have a temperature over 100, they'll be going home when you come in. Right now I have all of my napping cribs down because we're not expecting to be napping anybody when we first start back at Small Bears, but we'll be talking about that when you come in, when you come to the Zoom meeting on Monday night, talking about when we can resume napping and how you feel about it and what it would look like and all that. So they wouldn't be coming inside like you normally do. And if you look over this area, the area where we keep the children's individual backup clothing has been changed to allow more room in between each person's bin. Every bin has a cover on it to keep any item from one person touching anything from another person. Any items inside these bins will be in sealed plastic bags with your child's names on them. These backup clothes will only be used if the backup clothes that you send in your child's school bag were not enough and we had an extra accident. That way we'll eliminate any clothes going back and forth that don't need to on a regular basis. So in the hook area, the old bags were open like this, where sometimes things would go home in the wrong bag, because lots of times I had to call you and say, please look for something in your child's bag. We won't be able to use that kind of a bag system anymore. And even the backpacks, a lot of times they got so jammed that they wouldn't even zipper. And sometimes kids had matching backpacks, so that it didn't really work very well. So we're asking people to get, if they can, a drawstring bag. The drawstring bag will allow you to hang your drawstring on here without anything in your bag touching anything from anybody else. That would be helpful if you could do that, okay? So then when you come in, your child, like always, this is not anything new, will be in here washing their hands. I have removed all of the items in here that we used to have the kids have their cute little foam things with their names on them as to whose it was. That way, sometimes those face cloths would touch somebody else's. We're not going to do that. So we will have either the individual one-time use face cloths like this, and if we run out, I have 80 of them, so hopefully I won't run out. We will be using paper towels. These will just be used singly, and then into the dirty clothes basket they will go. That will be over on the stairs away where people won't be touching them, okay? Still have our soap in here. We will also have some other hand sanitizing stations, 4 of them throughout the school, where we can do a quick hand sanitizer with a waterless hand sanitizer. There'll be one in the kitchen. We'll have one outside in the play space area, probably on the little sink that's outside. We will have cleaners in the shed where the kids can't touch them. These Lysol pump sprays with paper towels to wipe down items outside, such as the hand railings of the jumperoo and the slide, and areas where kids would be touching the same thing, a play toy like a ride-on toy or something like that. So those get wiped down in between use. I have a little pool out there, but that's for my grandchildren that are, I think, coming on Thursday this week. We won't be able to use little pools. We might be able to use little individual water buckets, almost like those dish trays that people have, where we could put some little water in there and someone could use that, and that would be their own little water play area. We could put them up on the table for splash and play, and then those would get sanitized at the end of the day, but that would only be single use by a single child. We'll use little sprinklers to keep the kids cool, okay, outside. And then when they bring their lunches in, we won't be putting them on the counter like we used to. They will remain in your child's bag until we take them out to hand their food. It's going to be helpful. We're going to be spreading out the children, and children will have assigned spaces to keep them socially distanced or physically distanced. So I'm assuming that I'll have 2 children at the dining room table on this side I will have another couple of children down here at this table, one over here at this table, maybe two here at the counter, because a lot of times we have siblings, so we can put some siblings together. And if we need to, we'll put more areas in here. Children are going to have individual workspaces this year, which means they won't be sharing the same table back and forth. So let's say I had Grace and Max. They would be using this table on the left. The front side of this table, I'm buying a plexiglass shield that's going to go down through the middle and be clipped onto the table. It's like, again, in case anybody has an accidental sneeze or cough. And even though there's a plexiglass shield here, if I had two children on the other side of the table, they wouldn't use their station until, let's say, Grace and Max moved away from this side, went to another station to do something. Then let's say and David would come and they would be on that side using that side of the table. And then obviously tables get washed down with sanitizer, the Lysol spray in between use. And then for setting up for morning meeting, it's really hard to get the appropriate amount of social distance with the high chair. So we'll be grouping family members close together and then spreading out into 3 rows, 3 different groups of children to do the morning meeting. And in that scenario, since we're a little bit closer than we normally would be, I have bought these little, don't know if the children will wear them, but I hope that they might be willing to wear them. Instead of masks, I bought these things. They're like little headbands. They go on with like a soft headband backing, and they have like a little plastic shield, and each one is a different character. So each child would have their own, and they might be willing to wear it like a little shield. We can see, you know, when they're set up, they look like that, but they're cute because they have these cute little headbands on them. And then I have my own beautiful beekeeper type hat, several of my fashionable designs to wear to keep me a sneeze guard from them. And then what we're doing in the classroom to minimize sharing and not make it so obvious, because obviously we want children to feel as normal and comfortable as possible. Each child will have their own bin like they always did, except now the bins are bigger and each bin has a cover on it. And each child will have, instead of sharing the scissors from a community pile, they will have their own scissors, their own pencils, their own Linky cubes for sorting and color and stacking and counting kind of things, their own crayons, their own markers, whiteboard markers, paints, etc. And instead of having you buy the supplies and send them in and having things go back and forth, I have purchased all of the supplies. So all supplies are identical and everyone's bin is identical and everyone has the same thing. And that way, when they work at their station, we don't have to hand sanitize. I mean, we don't have to sanitize their items every single day because, you know, they're only using it themselves in their own clean workspace. If they drop it on the floor or it's confusing whose it is, then we'll sanitize them, figure it out, and put it back in the right bin. Even with the Play-Doh, we've made individual covered bins for the Play-Doh for each child. So the child would have their own roller, their own things to hide in the Play-Doh, their own cutters, their own stampers, etc. So that they would be at their station playing with their Play-Doh kit, and then real Play-Doh, the Play-Doh itself, won't even go into this bin. It will just be thrown out at the end of the day. We'll take pictures so you can see what they did with the Play-Doh. So every child has their individual kits, and then we've also made up individual bins. Some of these haven't been labeled yet, but individual bins for Lego. So each child would have their own Lego, and the bins are identical. So you know, somebody's not going to have something different than somebody else. So I have several of those, and then over here in the magnetile area, some of these things that are manipulatives would be really hard to keep sanitizing, and if they were sharing them amongst people, it wouldn't be the best thing to do in a pandemic. So each child will have their own magnetile set, or if we don't have enough for each child, we'll set up 4 or 6, and then maybe have them for the week, and then the next week they'll have a different thing like play sticks or something, and then we would just have to sanitize them like once a week, or we'll just have enough for everybody with their own. And there will be more of cooperative play, social and cooperative play, as opposed to social play with kids playing together all in a closed space. They would be doing similar activities, almost like we did when we were on homeschool, and then we would be coming together at morning meeting and talking about our projects that we made and things that we did, and they'd be having the same shared experiences. They just might not be doing them as closely to their friends as they used to. So the kids will be really spaced out in workstations. And then even with the Montessori blocks and things like that, they'll be in a special bin with a cover. I'll probably be taking whiteboards when I get them back and having each person have their own whiteboard or writing materials. Writing folders will be in their individual cubbies. Their individual computers will be in their cubbies as well. I'm separating all the books so they're not just open for people to be touching. They're going to be in these bins, these level 1, 2, 3. I might even move them over here to this bookcase when I finish organizing that. That hasn't been dealt with yet. And then in the art room, again, everything. This is not much different than I had it before because I always had things in covered bins, but these have all been gone through, cleaned up. And we have the play sticks area. You can say hello to Brady. The play sticks areas. I have 4 sets of these that have their own kits for the play sticks, for the light table. So I might have a set of siblings come in and play with it with kit 1 and 2. And then another set of, we just have to sanitize the top of this. And then a second set of kids could come in at the next time block and play with kits 3 and 4. And then maybe only 4 kids play with this a day, and then we sanitize them, and then different kids could do them a different day, or maybe that's one of the things that's going to be a weekly kit that they have, and sanitize them at the end of the week. We just have to figure out how much cleaning we can do and what makes sense. If kids are content to have certain things for the week as one of their special activities, is that okay, or are they, losing their mind and need to play with something different? And all of this is cleaned up and organized, and everything with lids, so it's not going to be touched. I haven't completely finished. A lot of these puzzles are going to be taken out. We'll just have puzzles for the month down here to eliminate a lot of choices and just have a few things available. And every month they'll be changed out. So like in September we have back to school letters and numbers and things like that. In October, it's fire safety month, so we have fire engines and things like that. And maybe Halloween. November, we have another group of themes coming in December. So each month there's different characters and different types of puzzles available. And then in this space out here, my husband has not removed his pile of junk there, but everything else has somewhat been cleaned up and organized. And what I'm planning to do out here is to set up 4 spaces for 4 activities. So there might be a puzzle activity in this corner, and one group of kids might be over here working on puzzles for 10 or 15 minutes. Another group might be doing some dancing, in another area. And then another group, socially distanced, might be doing like maybe reading with Miss Jill or something like that. Or over here doing a tea party or something, having kids just spaced out doing 4 different activities, and then every 15 minutes they'd have 5 minutes to maybe sit down, kind of spread out a little bit. They could maybe have a few goldfish crackers or a glass of water or something, wait while we sanitize the stations and wait for the kids to rotate to the next center if we're in here. So during phase 1, I'd like to be outside for the summer camp 3 mornings a week, weather permitting. And the same thing, like out there, my sandbox area was approved to be able to be used. I could have one group of children in the sandbox, let's say Max and Grace, and then maybe Cody and Virginia are over here at the paint easel, and then perhaps Leighton and maybe somebody else on the other side of this table out here would be out here doing some arts and crafts with Miss Katie, and then perhaps a couple of other people like Eve, or if Avery and Will are here or something, they might be out working in the jumperoo area, sprinkler area, fairy garden area. And again, they would sit physically distance about every 15-20 minutes. They would take a water break, sit down, and we would be rotating the stations and cleaning up so the next group of kids could come to arts and crafts, and then somebody else could move to jumperoo, and we'll be washing the hand railings down for the jumperoo area, washing the slide down, the handles of the slide. Everybody will have their own individual paint jars and brushes at the paint center if we're doing the easels. So we're trying to eliminate as much touching of anything that someone else touched as possible, but we want the kids to have fun and feel as normal as possible. We don't want to stress them out about this. So children will be asked if they can to wear a mask when they're inside. You know, if not, I have those special face shields I showed you that they might be willing to wear when we're inside, especially if we're in somewhat of a closed space and going to be in here for a while. And when we're outside, we're not expecting anybody to have to really wear a mask. They can if they want to. Certainly 4 and 5-year-olds that are willing to wear a mask are welcome to wear those. Katie and I will be wearing our masks, and I have my special beekeeper hat. I can buy one for Katie if she wants one. So that's sort of some of the things that we've already got ready for starting back to school, and how it looks a little bit different than what it did before. We'll be eliminating soft toys and soft puppets and things like that, since we can't really use those and wash them. They don't want us to use really any soft toys. So even in our puppet bin, I'll actually have to take out the little 3 houses here. I think I have a wooden house or a plastic house somewhere I could bring down, or we just won't have the houses. I might add the Polly Pocket people in here because they're plastic and easy to sanitize, and I'll either set up several sets of this or have a set and then just wash it in between and limit the amount of items per day. So things like that, it's a work in progress. You can see I'm still organizing things and separating things out. I haven't completed anything. I need to make more than 2 Lego kits. I need to do at least 6 of those, so I have to go out and grab some more Legos and bins and get those organized. But we can talk about other things like the new paperwork and what my actual plan of cleaning and all that kind of stuff is when we touch base on, looks like maybe Monday night around 8. Okay? Thank you.